This module will discuss the manipulating of body weight changes in dairy cows. I think it's important that we don't confuse this with humans, of course, because certainly these principles only apply to heavy cows, not certainly heavy people as far as that goes. But seriously, weight loss is another important aspect in terms of manipulating both production and cow health and reproductive performance in the dairy herd. This visual should look very familiar. We have seen it before looking at our phase feeding programs, the different phases in a dairy cow. We will, in this module, look specifically at the red dotted line, which is the weight loss curve, if you wish. And notice you can see how this curve starts dropping just prior to calving in the freshening period, a very steep curve. In fact, that's a take-home point that in the first 2 to 3 weeks after calving, we will have the fastest weight loss in terms of pounds per day occurring. However, this weight loss will then slow down, and somewhere, hopefully around 60 to 80 days after calving, we will turn the corner. And you'll see that on this visual right around 90 days where we start gaining body weight back. And then we have a gradual increase in body weight, hopefully restoring the body weight back to the pre-calving time before the cow goes dry, and then we stabilize that body weight in phase 1 and 2. So that's the challenge, is to manipulate and control this body weight curve for optimum performance, cow health, and reproductive performance. We will answer a series of questions in this module. The first question to answer, or ask and answer, is, well, why do cows lose body weight? And certainly we can see 4 factors that impact why cows will lose weight. The first one is one most people will not think about, and that is the dry cow program and how we transition that cow to get her into the lactating herd. If this is a poor transition data, we can actually have cows developing ketosis, which is a sign of weight loss starting 4 to 5 days before calving, even before the cow starts lactating. Obviously, point number 2, milk yield is critical. Cows that give more milk, that is higher in components than what the ration can support, means those nutrients have to come from body weight or body reserves to maintain that production. So certainly, high-producing cows will lose some body weight in early lactation. Obviously, number 3 is dry matter intake. Cows that do not eat the amount of dry matter that we have targeted means, therefore, that they will not get the same nutrient intake than those cows that can eat more. Or you'll have to go to point 4 and look at rations in which the energy density or concentration isn't high enough. So if we feed rations that are too high in forages, or forage quality is quite low, certainly that will also impact weight loss because the density, the TDN, or the net energy lactation levels are too low to sustain body weight and meet energy needs. Certainly cows can get very thin. This Guernsey cow is a prime example of a cow that is extremely thin in this situation. This would be a body condition score cow that is actually below a 1. And this cow also has a disease that many of us have heard about called Johne's disease, and would be the reason why she was very thin. But certainly we hopefully don't find any of these type of thin cows on farms here in the U.S. But reflecting on that thin cow, then the next question to ask and answer, and that is, well, should cows lose body weight? Well, certainly we know that high-producing cows will lose weight because they have a high demand for milk yield and nutrient requirement. Dr. Marshall McCulloch, who passed away several years ago, argued that good cows need to lose some weight. He termed that physiologically switched on, meaning that the hormonal system is changed and it really drives this cow to produce very high levels of milk. And he would also comment cows that aren't losing body weight probably aren't very high-producing cows. The data set you have in front of you is from the University of Maryland, showing the impact of days after calving and milk yield as when these cows stopped losing body weight and how much weight they lost in each various week time periods across the top. And there are several important points to take. Number 1, a low-producing cow at 14,000 pounds of milk really never loses much weight, and by 3 to 6 weeks after calving already is starting to get weight back on. She doesn't have a problem. We go down to the 18,000-pound cow, which is about what our state averages are now, and you can see these cows still lose a very modest amount of weight, and somewhere around 10 weeks after calving, they have turned the energy corner and now are starting to maintain or gain body weight. However, if we go to the 22,000-pound cow, now we get a different story. These cows are losing in excess of 3 pounds of body weight in the first 2 to 4 to 6 weeks after calving, and they're well into almost 100 days after calving before they turn the energy corner. So certainly as we breed and develop higher producing cows, we will have a much more difficult time to ask how long and how much weight should this cow lose out there. If cow loses this excessive 3 to 4 pounds per day, which has been reported by both the Maryland and Wisconsin workers, one problem that we will see, especially our veterinarians will see, is what we call fatty liver syndrome. This liver picture taken at the Iowa State University at Ames shows a liver that contains over 80% liver fat. And what happens here is when cows mobilize body fat at very, very high levels, the mammary gland cannot utilize all those nutrients immediately, and the liver is the sentinel organ. It says, my job is to remove these excessive amounts of copper or excessive amounts of lipid. And so what happens, the liver pulls this fat out of circulation and stores it in the liver and leads to this fatty liver syndrome. And of course, related to this will be ketosis. So certainly, again, if these cows lose weight too quickly, we have this metabolic disorder and unhealthy cow occurring out there. The third question we'll answer will be, how much weight should the cow lose? Our guidelines would be that weight loss should be kept below 2 pounds per day in the first 60 days after calving. Under good dry cow management and transition and high-quality rations, by day 60 to 120, these cows should be maintaining body weight, which means they are in positive energy balance. By day 120 to 140, now we have to start putting the weight back on we lost in the first 50 or 60 days. If these cows lose 2 pounds a day for 60 days, that's 120 pounds of weight we must put back on. If we start putting weight gain back on at day 150, 160, it means they have to gain nearly a pound of extra energy intake to gain this weight back on top of her other requirements for growth, for production, for maintenance, and other needs for that energy. So certainly the key is don't lose too much, or we don't have enough time in the lactation gestation cycle to get this cow built back up. If this cow does lose this weight too quickly, the Cornell data set in front of you shows you the effects it has on reproductive performance. This data shows cows that lose less than 1/2 body condition score in the first 30 days after calving. Those that lost from 1/2 to 1 body condition score, that group of cows that lost more than 1 body condition score in the first 30 days. The Cornell people have defined a body condition score as approximately 120 pounds. So if you divide 30 into 120 pounds, that is 4 pounds of body weight a day. That would be twice our guideline. And if you come down this sheet, you can see, or table, you can see that the first service conceptions have dropped way down to 17% on those cows with excessive weight loss. So obviously, if you look at days to first service, days to first estrus, days to first ovulation, all these things show that we have impaired reproductive performance, and that is predicated on weight loss. Dr. Jack Britt at North Carolina State University has postulated one of the reasons why we can't get these cows bred back may be due to energy balance when the follicle is forming on the cow's ovary. If we look way to the right side and say we're going to have an egg ovulated at day 84 or 112, it takes approximately 60 days for that egg to develop. And you can see it starting out as a very small dot and it gets larger and larger and larger. Dr. Britt would suggest those cows that are negative energy balance under a nutrient stress, those eggs, that ovum is imprinted and will become less fertile at the time of ovulation. And the egg remembers that. And dairy farmers will agree with that because they'll say, gee, we can't get cows bred until they're out 120, 130 days. And if you are looking at energy balance, go back 60 days from that point, and sure enough, that's when many cows will be coming in positive energy balance. And that's why some people will go to early breeding trying to get a higher quality follicle before this imprintation of negative energy balance can impact it. Another theory of why energy can impact reproductive performance is illustrated by this data summarized by Jerry Olson at the University of Illinois. And what he showed here is that those cows losing body weight, as indicated by the yellow hatched area, has a much lower level of progesterone than those cows that are maintaining body condition. We know that blood or serum progesterone is a hormone that tells the cow that she is carrying a fetus or she may be pregnant. And so we can see energy balance really reduces this level down, and therefore cows may not recognize that they are pregnant and they will cycle again. In fact, this may be nature's way to protect that cow so that she does not become pregnant too soon, assuming that she is in a negative energy balance. So certainly this is maybe just a natural characteristic as well. But certainly these slides clearly point out that weight loss can impact reproductive performance and cow health and ketosis. So certainly managing body condition score has a health aspect as well. Well, body weight can be looked at much like borrowing money for the bank, and at some point you will have to pay the bank back if you loan money, and same thing on this lactating dairy cow, we have to pay back the weight loss for the next lactation. And as this slide indicates, weight gain is very difficult to achieve in high-producing cows because for each 1 pound of body weight gained, we require an extra 2.3 megacalories of net energy. Now, megacalories of energy are difficult to see, but another way to translate this data would be about 2.5 pounds of corn dry matter. And that's something we can hold in our hand and we can see. That's how much extra corn energy it takes just to get this gain back on. Now remember, if it's a first lactation heifer giving 70 pounds of milk with a 3/8 butterfat test, we have to meet that requirement. Plus, if she is growing, maturing in size, plus she's maintaining herself, plus it's 2 degrees below zero out there, and we have a cold effect coming in or a heat stress factor coming into play, you begin to see why this weight loss can be extremely critical in young animals and very high-producing animals as well. So our guidelines in terms of how much weight to lose. Number 1, we should like to limit weight loss of actual body weight. If you're evaluating this using body condition scores, the guideline from Cornell, 120 to 25 pounds, 1 body condition score, it says no cow in your herd or with your clientele should lose more than half body condition point. So there's your take-home assignment. Walk out into the free stalls in the stanchion barn and see if there are any cows that are too thin. Because cows that are too thin, we just don't have the time to get them back to an optimal body condition score in the next lactation. A good class assignment is to go home or work with your clientele and look at the various shape of the body condition score your herd experiences. This slide from Dr. John Fetro at the University of Minnesota shows a desirable curve. We were striving for the green arrow. So if you went out and body condition scored 10% of your cows, or if you have a small herd, 25 or 30 cows, and graph them on the days in milk or days dry prior to calving, you can get a very nice profile to see if you are in the green, which means they have not dropped too low, they have not gotten too high, and you're at the right point based on the days in milk in the gestation or lactation cycle. An excellent chart, and there are some software spreadsheets that can also graph this automatically for you as well. The recommended guidelines then in summary on body condition scores would be when the cow dries off, we would like her to be around a 3.25 body condition score. Then if she is at that point, we would maintain that calving score until she reaches parturition. If the cow is below 3, we would then suggest to put a small gain on these cows so that they will come up to our target 3.25. This would be true in high-producing cows, young cows, cows receiving BST, or any other factor that may allow cows to come into the dry pen a bit on the light side. Then our next checkpoint, and these points are times when someone needs to look at the cow or handle the cow. So the veterinarian could be scoring, the DHI supervisor could be scoring, whoever is working with this. We prefer not to have the farmer score the cow because he or she knows too much history about the cow. She is my best cow, I would never score her below a 3. Gosh, that cow had a set of twins, we better help her out just a little bit. Then the next point will be at the breeding time because we know the effects that can have on reproductive performance and body condition score. And the next time might be pregnancy check, which will be another 40 to 60 days later. And ideally this cow has gained some weight from the time she was bred on the time she is diagnosed pregnant. Again, another neat time to check body condition score. Well, in this module, we've tried to challenge you to think about controlling body weight loss. We would like to see the dairy farmer control that rather than the cow. Because the cow, when she loses weight, she is talking, she is screaming at you that she is in a negative energy balance. This may not be bad as long as we are controlling that, monitoring that, and manipulating that so that in later lactation we can get back to the desirable points we want to be. Well, that concludes this module here, and have a good day.